Information broadcasted by our hosts or guests. Listener discretion is advised.
Hey, this is Big Easy, Eric Sheltis, host of Sports Talk, Soup, and View from the Edge. You're listening to with Jim Malliard, Quack Quack, on Shark Radio Network.
Hey everybody, it's the Malliard Report.
It's the Malliard.
Hey everybody, it's
That it is. Okay, here we go. I'm not going to mess around too much tonight. I'm just going to get our guest up here. Let's give it a call and see how this works tonight. Our guest tonight is David Rountree, and anybody who's heard him interviewed before knows he's spectacular and well thought out and well knowledgeable on the subject. Hello, David Rountree. How are you tonight? You're live on the Malliard Report. Good, you said, huh?
Yeah, good.
Don't talk my ear off all at once, okay?
Huh?
Don't talk my ear off all at once.
It's not 10 o'clock yet, is it?
Yeah, actually the interview's at 9.
The interview's at 9?
Yeah, so it's right now, actually. Why, you need to go?
No, hold on a second. Yeah. Power up everything here.
Okay.
Hold on.
The beauties of live radio. I'm sorry. I was going to call you, but I just got home a little bit ago, so you know how that goes. But,
Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's start this over. How you doing again?
Good.
That's what I like to hear. Except I don't like hearing myself talk that much, but okay. There we go. That's better for me. So let's start with the easy stuff. How's the book doing? I know we can get it on Amazon and all that fun stuff, but how's it actually doing selling-wise? And
It's selling pretty steady. I mean, sales are definitely reflected in how much I campaign the book. So, if I'm busy and I'm not campaigning the book, the sales, don't do quite the same as when I'm out constantly pushing it. But it's been pretty steady. It's still selling at a pretty steady rate, and there's still new people that are emailing me and telling me how they're really getting a lot out of it. It is available at Amazon. It's also available at just about every online bookstore on the web in all foreign countries and all continents except for Antarctica, of course. But
no, you haven't made the push there yet?
Well, there was one copy there for about 6 weeks.
Really?
But the person came home.
Oh, wow.
But they read it while they were there. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
That would be interesting.
Yeah. It adds to the mystique, so to speak.
Well, I was going to say, it's pretty cool to have it travel the world, I guess is the easiest way to put it.
Well, it's just one of those little anecdotes. I'm sure it wasn't a planned event.
No, if you wanted it to go to Antarctica, it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, of course. It's just kind of an interesting side note there. But actually, I want to get on. Hold on, so I can get to the website here.
Which would be sharkradionetwork.com.
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay,
I'm
I just wanted to, little self-promotion, you know how that goes.
No, that's good. God.
So do you want to talk about future projects or the past first? Where do you want to go first?
Oh, it's really up to you. It's your show, man.
Well, yeah,
Where
but
do you
you're
wanna
the
go?
guest, I guess. Let's start with future. Let's start with future projects. Are you appearing anywhere, or let's start there. Are you appearing anywhere or coming up here that we want to?
I'm going to be making some appearances in October. I'm going to be doing a thing called the Para X. It's a charity thing here in New Jersey. I'm also going to be traveling out to Austin, Texas, but I'm not actually appearing there. I'm just going to go there as a guest of some folks, and I really can't go into a lot of details of what's going on with that. But
pretty cool either way to get out of the Northeast.
Yeah, I mean, it's essentially I'm going to go out there and sell my book and meet a lot of people. I'm thinking about doing some interviews for my own podcast while I'm there. that sort of stuff.
Right.
But I do have some information about possibly returning to Pittsburgh.
Good, because I missed you when you were here.
Yeah, well, you'll have to check it out. I know. There has been some mentions of a conference that's going to happen sometime in the late spring, early summer of 2012.
If I ever get mine together again, I'll have you here. But one day at a time.
That'll be great.
Get you to the northwest corner of Pennsylvania, which is never seen anything big like that. So
if people listen, I will talk.
Well, you're on the wrong show then. No.
Well, I mean, what can you say? But no, I mean, I am planning on essentially going back to the Pittsburgh area. I'll probably be a return guest at the same performance that I did there.
They seem like they're trying to get some awesome people together, so I hope that works out for them, because that'd be interesting to see. It's actually good to get some...
well, the idea behind it is pretty sound, because what they're trying to do is to try to unify the paranormal field there in Pittsburgh, and there's so many different groups there. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I was going to say.
If everyone would pool their resources and kind of work together. What a concept.
I know. What a crazy idea. But, it's going to take time, so it's good to get everybody in. The first step's got to get everybody under the same roof. And then we can bridge gaps and go from there, so.
Absolutely, I agree. I am doing some interesting research right now, though.
Let's get into it, then.
Yeah, I've been working on the infamous wormhole detector, the EMF triangulation device. And I had a lot of problems with the prototype in that I was getting a lot of interference from the backside of the sensors. And I wrestled with this problem for most of the summer, and I came up with a cure for it. And what I've done is I've acquired some mu metal, which is a special kind of metal that blocks out magnetic fields. Well, what that does is it takes an electromagnetic field and turns it into an electric field, and essentially removes the interference from the backside of the sensor. I'm also using a redesigned sensor, and I'm using a whole redesigned amplification system and a data logger to actually record all the data. And I'm using 4 sensors instead of 3 to try to get a more accurate ability to locate emerging EMF in the environment. But I'm also playing around with this other idea that has to do with zero-point energy. There's a lot of myths surrounding zero-point energy. All these people that are, trying to build these free energy devices and things, and there's a lot of physics problems associated with that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know how would you present energy to something that you can't know what kind of energy it needs.
Well, zero-point energy supposedly is a free source of energy that permeates through space-time. And the idea is if you could collect this energy, you could then utilize it as a free energy source. You could power things with it. The problem is there's this little thing called energy conservation. And you can't get something for nothing. There has to be something involved in it. So there's some potential issues with it. But my concern with it is this thing that is called the zero-point field, the zero-point energy field, which you find reference to this in a lot of holistic sites, and a lot of philosophers talk about it. But the concept is it's like a grid of energy that permeates space-time. And I think rather than being able to use it as a free energy source, I think it's something else entirely different. I think what it is it's like the World Wide Web of the multiverse. I think it's like it's not so much that there's energy there. I think there's information riding on it. I think probably all the information that ever was or ever will be may be, traveling along this web, this network.
That'd be interesting if the future was traveling around us and we didn't know it.
Well, it'd be kind of neat to tap into that. What if we could build a receiver that could receive these emanations from the zero-point field and somehow translate that information into forms that we could understand. That would be like pretty awesome.
That would be.
It would
Then
be
where would all our psychics and mediums go, though?
Well, I think that a lot of how a psychic or a medium works is they're able to tap into that field to get their information. Whether it's from just their sheer ability to receive the information. And we've done some, experiments with mediums where we have noted that there are emerging EMF that it starts occurring when the medium starts to get their information. And this waveform is a very low frequency carrier wave that has information riding on it. And what I think they're doing is they're reading that information like a big biological TV set, so that they're receiving that transmission, and in their mind they are immersed in this movie. They're literally seeing this information as it unfolds in their mind, and they either witness it or they are a part of it, they are immersed in it, or they are one of the victims, or they feel it, or there's multiple different levels of sensory stimulation that occur. But this is really in the infancy stage, and I can't say that that's exactly what's happening in these situations, but it certainly is very compelling what we're seeing, and it is definitely warranting further research.
I was going to say, it makes a little bit of sense that there's some kind of physical information to be received from when they're starting to receive the information, so I'm interested to see where that all leads to.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, it's important that other people also, or other researchers, duplicate the work as well.
Right.
And try to see if it's artifactual or something that we're creating or doing or something, and it's really out there, and other people are able to pick it up as well. But the whole idea comes back to coming up with some type of idea on how to, I've got this whole wormhole theory working on right now, that paranormal events enter into the environment through a conduit of sorts. And I'm saying that, the only thing in physics really that could do this would be some type of a wormhole construct. But the idea is to search for a way to artificially open a wormhole. In other words, to set up conditions that would allow for a wormhole to open.
Well, that'd be the easiest way, I guess, to prove that they exist, is be able to produce one whenever you want one.
Well, exactly. And the idea, I've kicked this around a whole lot, and I've started reviewing a lot of the work that I've done in the past. And one of the things that I thought about was, if one could determine what the resonant frequency of the wormhole was, one might be able to trigger it to open by recreating that resonant frequency. But there's something else that may be a bigger clue than that, because I know we have played around with using a Tesla coil to increase activity in a reportedly haunted environment, and other organizations have done the same thing. I'm familiar with at least RPAST has done very similar research over the last few years using Tesla coils, where they have found that by running a Tesla coil in the environment, it has increased paranormal activity that's a noticeably measurable rate. And I got to thinking about that. Well, a Tesla coil is also generating a frequency. The spark gap is creating a frequency based on the gap, the gap arcing. Now, what if that resonant frequency that's being created by the Tesla coil, as well as the added energy injected into the environment, what if that may be triggering the wormhole opening? So now we've got a whole new series of experiments to start doing now.
well, how do I say this without sounding, dumb, but that's okay. I think that's going to happen some point tonight, so I might as well just get it out of the way right now. During our investigations, we've noticed, thunderstorms are better times to investigate than not. So the electric in the air, there's got to be... that's not as a predictable matter, though, but it's still... earth and energy, I guess, is the easiest way to...
Well, we've noticed statistically that added natural energy in the environment does tend to increase activity. Thunderstorms, elevated things like geomagnetic storms, sunspot activity. all of these things over a period of the last 10 years we've been documenting, and it seems that when there is elevated energy in the environment, the activity seems to increase. So there's definitely a connection between additional energy being pumped into the environment, but I think that's just part of the story.
Right.
I think another part of the story is what's facilitating it in the first place. And I think that it's a frequency-related thing. And I've started putting together some ideas about possibly making a magnetic vortexual generator, other kind of different things, because you want to try a lot of different things. It's like looking for a needle in a haystack, number one. I mean, no one's ever done it before, so there's no manual how to.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's
why wormholes are theoretical, so no one knows for sure.
I guess that's why I always enjoy talking to you or messaging with you. There's the envelope. People think they're pushing the envelope, and then there's people like you who are like at the UPS store overnighting it somewhere.
Yeah, well, I do lay awake sometimes at night thinking about very bizarre things. But the idea is to have like a plan of attack with a lot of different methods of trying, and it may be that one of them succeeds. It may be that combinations of different things may be required to succeed. We just don't know. But we're not going to know anything unless we start looking for it or start trying to get something to happen.
Right.
So that's kind of the idea.
We got a chat room question here. Let's see real quick if I can get my mind wrapped around it. Are you scared of going through a wormhole? I mean, the unknown side of it. I mean, since no one's ever been through it, if you create one, are you scared of opening the portal to? I guess we could. Yeah.
I don't plan on jumping into one, if that's what you're asking.
Why not?
I don't think the type of wormholes that are associated with this activity allow matter to go through it. I think it's merely an energy conduit, where literally you're dealing with an energy manifestation, and it's not so much that something's coming through the wormhole more than it is in the throat of that wormhole manifesting. And by that I mean, for example, if we see an apparition, for example, something that we're visually witnessing, it may be simply that the energy is projecting an image on the holographic boundary of the wormhole, and we're literally seeing a projection in 3D of what we think is a ghost or a person. And if you look at reports of people who have seen apparitions, they range in, I mean, everyone that sees one knows they're seeing a ghost. You know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
The first thing that goes into their mind is, oh my God, that's a ghost. Well, why is that? Because there's something not natural about the way it looks. In other words, it doesn't look totally physical. Even if it does look physical, it doesn't look totally physical enough to where the brain says there's something wrong with this picture. So it's like we're seeing a projection, and in some cases it's very see-through. It's almost like a very weak projection. And other times it can be a very strong projection where it actually almost looks like a real person standing there. Another aspect of this is that a lot of people, there's a lot of theories put forward about residual haunting, where you're dealing with something that's playing over and over again and it's not reacting to your presence. And I've heard such crazy ideas as, the rocks have memories, or the energy is stored in the stone walls, and it's, and there's absolutely no evidence to support any of that whatsoever.
Well, but if that was the case, if we moved the stones, never mind. Anyways.
Oh, yeah, exactly. But what is a possibility and exists in theory is that if this was a wormhole or an Einstein-Rosen bridge, they not only connect two places in the universe or two universes together, they also connect two places time-wise. They can go through space-time. So it may be that when we see a residual haunt or a historical thing going on, we may actually be looking at that holographic boundary and seeing the actual event as it's taking place in history. And just depending on where we're located in reference to that holographic boundary depends on what we see or whether we see it and the person next to us doesn't. It's all a matter of where we're aligned with the projection. And it may be that we're seeing the actual event back in time by looking into this wormhole. And we're not going to notice anything really different about where we're looking other than momentarily the scenery may change in a very localized area. But it's not like we're going to see like this wavering thing occurring or something that's obviously a displacement. We may just literally see a superimposure of a projection over the existing landscape. So, I mean, it's very possible that that could be the grand theory of everything in the paranormal, as far as paranormal research goes. It may be that another type of wormhole is used by whoever flies these UFOs to get from one side of the universe to the other without breaking the laws of relativity. It may be that certain cryptozoological beasts are using these things to blink in and out of our existence for brief periods of time, which may explain why when people are really trying to find them, they can't. I mean, there's all sorts of things that it could supply an answer for if that turns out to be the case of what we're dealing with. So we're kind of excited about at least riding the horse out until it drops to find out where it goes, because we feel like it's a very important discovery one way or the other. Whether it proves to be wrong or whether it proves to be right, we're going to learn something from it.
Well, that's true. I mean, you just totally blew my mind about Bigfoot being able to just be in the right spot at the right time.
Well, that's a different story now. There's a lot of things about Bigfoot that the public doesn't know yet, and I think a lot of things are going to be revealed this fall or early in the spring.
Well, go ahead and reveal them now. Go ahead. It's okay.
Well, I'm not at liberty to do that because I'm not a Bigfoot researcher, but I'm privy to some information that I know they've gotten some really good evidence.
Well, pass some people along to me then, okay? Can we do that much for me?
You know how this works.
Yeah. I mean, after they reveal it, you know how this, that's what I'm saying. I don't want this. I guess I can't get the scoop. I mean, I am
still... It's all a matter of...
I'm not coast to coast, I know that. I understand.
Yeah, it's all a matter of people presenting it in their own time and space to their own benefits or whatever. So,
well, how about that one Bigfoot guy that paid like $50,000 for a bear suit?
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. There, just like in anything, there are nuts and there are quacks and there are all kinds
easy with the quacks.
Oh. Yeah, there's all kinds of weirdos that will do most anything for notoriety or fame or whatever. But there are serious researchers out there who are slowly compiling evidence, and having learned very valuable lessons in the past, they're not going to make public their findings until they have a sufficient case that it cannot be debunked. And that's why you're not seeing it coming out until everything is ready to be presented.
Right. I totally follow that. I just have to give you a hard time because, well, that's my job.
That's what you do.
Yeah.
That's right. And you're good at it, so what can I say?
I'm not good at anything, but I'll take your credit and run with it.
But it is, but there are some crypto beasts that, may be a type of a traveling type of beast where it literally uses these conduits to go to a lot of different places, and we just happen to have witnesses to catch them when they momentarily appear here and do their thing. So, and these are all suppositions, please. I mean,
Oh yeah, well, yeah. I mean,
I don't propose that this is the answer to everything. I'm just saying it's a possibility and a probability that a wormhole could explain a lot of things that occur of a paranormal nature, and hence our interest in going after it. Not to mention the fact that it would be a huge discovery in the field of physics to actually prove the existence of one, which would even be huger than the fact that it's maybe the conduit with which paranormal activity uses. But it's interesting because a lot of quantum physicists and theoretical physicists have started putting forward ideas like that. These type of phenomenon, such as wormholes and things of this nature, could very well be the things that are causing or at least facilitating types of paranormal activity. People are at least starting to speculate about it now. I know I've heard Dr. Michio Kaku talk about it, on several occasions, that a lot of perceived, and he's very careful with his words, a lot of perceived paranormal events may be the byproduct of quantum effects occurring, in nature. They're all very careful about how they word things. But I think it's kind of interesting that they're at least stepping out on the limb and saying things like that.
I guess that's probably why they're better at it than I am. So.
Well, they have this immense education behind them, so their brains are at a next level.
Yeah, well, I'm glad somebody's is, because if we were all dependent on my brain, we'd be in trouble.
Well, that is true, but had to say that.
I know. That's okay. You're allowed to say that.
I can dish it back.
Your book is on the what? Is it up to 10 now on Amazon's list? I've seen.
It varies from day to day. The highest it's been number 3 in its genre.
Okay, well, you know where my book's been? Nowhere. So you can pick on me.
It varies, though. I mean, some days it'll be, like in the top 100 of its genre. Some days, the best it's ever done overall in Amazon with all books, which there's, like something like 8 million books or something there. The best it's ever rated has been 62,000.
Oh, that's pretty. I mean, I don't know if that's...
Which is not bad.
I
mean, people laugh, but that's not bad. For several weeks, it's outsold all the other paranormal books by people who are far more famous than I am. So the book itself has spurts. I mean, it's like anything else. It's not selling, 1,000 books a week, but it's selling constantly, at least.
Well, it's good that it's still
50
selling.
to 60 books.
When did it come out? I mean, it's been out for a while now.
Yeah, it's been out in August, but I don't have a very powerful media machine that's promoting it.
Oh, you're on my show. It's awesome.
Hey, I take every show I could get. Believe me.
I know. We've had this conversation.
Yeah, no bar too far, no hall too small. But I've found that while word of mouth is slow to start, it's a very effective way of promoting something that you feel very strongly about. And once it's reaching the point now where there's enough people that have read it that it's starting to self-perpetuate. In other words, people are saying, hey, you got to read this book, or hey, you got to buy this book. Other authors are starting to pick up on it. I mean, I've been talking with Marie Jones. I mean, you know who Marie Jones is, right?
Actually, I don't, so... That's...
She wrote a book several years ago called Science, P-S-I-E-N-C-E, How Discoveries in Quantum Mechanics.
Okay, I've heard the title or some snippet of it. I've seen it. So.
And then her and Larry Flaxman's with a group called RPAS in Arkansas. They wrote a book called The Resonance Key, which explores using resonant frequencies and exploring the zero-point energy field and stuff like that. She talks about my book, and then I talk a lot about her book, both her book and the book she wrote with Larry Flaxman, because there's not a lot of books out there that go into the theories behind some of these scientific explanations that could be at work here. And there's like a handful of authors out there doing that, and I think it's very important that we all push each other, because that's where the real guts are at, That's where the meat of the research is.
Right.
And whether we're right or wrong, we're stimulating people to think about it in a scientific manner, which is necessary.
Yeah, you've got to think about it besides, let's see, how do I embarrass myself more? Outside the orbs. There we go.
Well, it's a funny thing. I did a whole thing about orbs because I just got so sick of the whole thing. I mean, we designed an experiment, first of all, to see if there was any merit to there being such a thing as a real orb associated with paranormal activity. Because there's two camps. There's the camp that says, oh, no, they're all dust. It's like within 4 inches of the lens of the camera, and the flash is showing them up, and since they're out of the field of focus, they show up as an orb instead of a little speck of dust, And then there's the other camp that says, no, I know they're spirits because I see the smiley face.
Yeah, I was going to say, the smiley face people.
Yeah. And I always figured, that there was probably some truth somewhere between those two extremes. So we set out several years ago to find out. Instead of speculating whether orbs were real or not, or to argue whether they were or not, we believe fundamentally that it is the duty of science to investigate the unexplained, not explain the uninvestigated. So we went out and tried to figure out, first of all, we tried to determine if there were such a thing as orbs, what would they be? What would they be made of? And, spirit essence wasn't one of the options that we chose. But we kind of settled on the fact that it had to be some type of cold plasma. So we figured the best way to detect one would be to use a 2-camera shoot. And what this means was you would set up 2 cameras on tripod mounts in a room, 2 different angles, covering the same area of the room, and then you would just periodically take a photographer trigger and take pictures of the room at the same time with 2 cameras. And sure enough, you'd get a bunch of orbs in one camera, but no orbs in the other one, and vice versa. And we did that at a couple investigations. Then one night at an investigation, we were at a place here in the town where I live at, and we caught 3 different pictures of an orb, a single orb, in the room in the same place, captured by both cameras. Well, that's obviously something that's way beyond the field of view of the camera, so it can't be dust. And it had to be something that was that was showing up when it was being bombarded with the photons from the flash of the 2 cameras. So then we said, okay, maybe there is such a thing as an orb, although they seem to be far rarer than people believe them to be. Let's try to capture one. So I was watching Ghostbusters one night.
Oh, no.
And, when they're running around with those guns that they're crossing the beams and all that stuff, I said, I'm going to make something that's just hysterically funny. I took some PVC pipe and a coupler, and I took 2 sections of pipe, and I put aluminum screen on each side of the coupling, and then shoved the 2 pipes in to put them together. And what that did was it created 2 grids about a 1/4 inch apart inside the coupling. That allowed me to put a multimeter attached to each grid, and then hook it up to a small portable shop vac and a 100-foot extension cord, and then I'm in business. I'm running around running this shop vac through this tube trying to suck orbs in. Well,
is there any video of this? No.
No. No, and there better not be one out there either. But, of course, it's hilarious and everything else. But for a few times we went out, of course, we got nothing. And then one night I was running around, and all of a sudden the needle on the meter just pegged hard to the right, and a little puff of smoke came out of it. Now, we saw nothing, but something passed between the grid that had a fairly decent current and probably a fairly high potential. Since then, we've had it happen 4 or 5 more times, and to such a degree to where we think, there are such a thing as orbs, and they are most likely cold plasma that is being held stable by an encasing electromagnetic field that's holding it intact. And this would explain a lot of random EMF readings and stuff like that go on. But what forms the cold plasma is kind of an interesting thing. Plasma is a 4th state of matter. You've got solids, liquids, gases, and then plasma, which is kind of magical stuff. But the plasma apparently could be created by these wormholes forming, because what we've been noticing is that we're getting bursts of gamma radiation near the event horizon, I'll call it. Well, these bursts of gamma radiation, you don't get bursts of gamma radiation in your living room, unless, of course, you live at Los Alamos or where they conducted nuclear tests during the 40s. It's just not the kind of thing that occurs in your living room. What does cause that is annihilation of subatomic particles. Now, if we had annihilation of atomic particles, of course, we know what that would be. It would be like a huge crater where your house formerly sat and your city normally sat. But at a subatomic level, because it's at like a Planck state, it's almost like so small, it's microscopic. The energy is released in a huge burst, but it comes across as like a 350 millirad per hour burst of gamma radiation, and then it's gone. So we're getting these subatomic particle annihilations. Now, that's telling us that we've got some kind of matter that isn't playing very well with our own matter in a very localized area of a room. So this is kind of what led us to think that maybe that's, the wormhole option may be the only scientific explanation for what we're encountering there. And there are other clues as far as, highly elevated ion counts, drops in barometric pressure in a very localized area indicating something was altering the air pressure. Other things like time fluctuations, where the actual passage of time was altering, gravity fluctuations along 3 different axes, a lot of just bizarre things going on that you really can't explain away as, somebody left a can off the paint, and people are smelling fumes type stuff. So when you put it all together, the only thing it could add up to that makes any sense in science would be some type of wormhole formation. And that could also spin off the creation of small amounts of cold plasma, which may be what real orbs are coming from. Not the paranormal event or the ghosties or the spirits, but the actual environmental impact of the wormhole opening up in our reality and altering the environment in a very localized area could be creating these effects, which leads us to believe that about 85 or 90% of what we encounter on an investigation isn't the actual paranormal stuff. It's the conduit that facilitates the paranormal stuff altering the environment.
Again. Oh, let's do this since I totally lost my train of thought there. Again, just overthinking I should be, prepared to ask actual fairly decent questions. But no, I'm actually learning tonight, so...
Well, it's all right. I could talk about nothing forever, so it doesn't make any difference.
Well, you're not talking about nothing, though. That's the thing.
Give me time. I'll run out eventually.
Well,
Although it hasn't happened. Anybody that can talk on Coast to Coast for 3.5 hours with George Norrie, God, I don't know how I did it that night.
Well, you had a lot of coffee, I'm sure.
and we still didn't talk about everything. It was funny because George kept going off on tangents, and they were interesting tangents, but we used up all the time, and I still had a couple of questions that I wanted to touch base on, and we just never did it. But an amazing interviewer. But anyway.
Well, that's why he's got the big boy show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine doing 4 hours or 3.5, 4 hours of radio a day, though.
Oh, it gives me a headache even.
Yeah, so
if I listen to myself talk for that long, it gives me a headache. So.
Yeah, like I said, that's a lot of talking to yourself and being.
Well, what happens is like you'll be talking about something, and then it'll spin off into a little side journey, and then the side journey gets very interesting, and then we realize, oh my God, for the last 20 minutes we've been talking about something completely unrelated to what we were talking about, and then you have to kind of get everything back on track again.
But still, but the focus and the intent to do it. I can't imagine just hosting a show for 4 hours, let alone doing it daily there for 5 days a week.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy. And really what happens is you get through hour blocks at a time, and you think when you finish the first hour, you think, oh, God, what the heck am I going to talk about in the next hour? And all of a sudden, it just starts happening, and there you go. So, there's a lot of things that I want to do, and the problem is I don't have the time to do everything I want to do.
What do you want to do? What's on the wish list? The wish list.
Well, there's definitely I want to begin running the EMF detector 2.0 unit sometime this fall, and I still got some testing to do with that and get that working. And it's just a matter of time. I've had something going on, plus with promoting the book and doing public speaking and everything else. Those are important things because it gets the information out, it gets the book in the right hands, but it takes me also away from doing the research and stuff. So it's like while you're out there trying to promote the book and push the information, you're not able to do the research. So everything kind of gets backed up.
Jenny in the chat room wants you to come to Australia.
Yeah, there's a lot of. It's an interesting thing. There was some people in Tasmania that contacted me that they're doing some work on a historical site down there, and they've finally gotten permission to do like a paranormal investigative survey of the whole area. It was like a prison, and I was in contact with the person down there, and they were like asking me all kinds of questions. I gave them equipment recommendations and stuff like that, and they were like going, boy, if we can get a budget together, would you come down here and do something? And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'd love to go to Australia. That'd be great, but I'm not holding my breath yet, so we'll see what happens with that.
One day at a time, right? That's where we're headed.
Well, that's, got to sell a whole bunch of books for it to do something like that. But it could happen. You never know. I mean,
Well, speaking of books, I know that you've mentioned how busy you're doing other things, but I know that you're piecing together another book. Is that correct?
Well, I'm working on. I've actually got a couple of projects in the works. One book is kind of going to be a follow-up to the paranormal technology book, and in that I'm going to document all the experiments and stuff that I have been working on since 1976 to present time, and then highlight different discoveries along the way. And that's probably going to be a more entertaining read because there will be more room for anecdotal stories about how things came to be and how I reached certain conclusions along the way and that sort of thing. So that has the opportunity to be a much more entertaining book. But the main project right now I'm working on with a co-author is relating a story that occurred in 1985, which was of a demonic nature. And it's been a very difficult book to write because I've shot a lot of it out of my mind over the years. And going back through it, we essentially outlined the book, and we're emailing it back and forth. And then I would break it down into chapters. We would fill in what information we could, and it's slowly being pieced together. Essentially, each chapter is being fleshed out with each new rewrite. So it goes to him, it comes back to me. I read what he writes, it stimulates my memory, I add more to it, and we send it back and forth. And we're going to do that probably 2 or 3 more times before we're ready to send it off to a publisher. But that's going to be an interesting book, and of course there's going to be a lot of people that don't believe a word of it, and that's fine. Even if you don't believe it, it's going to be a very entertaining story because it was an entertaining situation, not necessarily good entertainment or bad entertainment, but it's going to be an interesting read. And, the audience can choose whether they believe it or not. It's not really important. We felt it was important to document it and then put it out there because there's a lot of things going on right now that are very disturbing to me. There are a lot of people who are going around and claiming to be demonologists.
Yeah, James Long was talking about that on Sunday, actually. So, yeah, it's a hot topic.
With little or no formal training or religious training or theological training. Essentially, they saw a TV show or they read a book, and now they're an expert.
Or just wanted to add it to the business card.
Huh?
Or just wanted to add it to the business card, because paranormal investigator, demonologist, now you're onto something.
There's a problem with that, because there are forces out there that are not good, If you've done it for any period of time, you've run across it in your travels. As a paranormal investigator, you've encountered something.
I've run across something I wouldn't even go. I mean, I don't think it's the worst case scenario, but it was good enough to open your eyes.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that have walked into a house, spent 5 minutes there, and said, "Nope, sorry, we'll see you later." And if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to get yourself in trouble. And I'm seeing these things on TV where they're showcasing these people who are making these claims, and I can't help but think at some point somebody's going to get in trouble, and it's not going to be a cool thing anymore.
Yeah, I was going to say that they keep pushing the envelope again. Here we bring the envelope back up into this show with these TV shows, and it's like, when is this going to end? When is this bubble of trying to one-up the last TV show going to end? Because somebody's going to get seriously hurt doing this. Exactly.
And, a lot of people, there's a lot of skeptics out there that says, oh, yeah, there's no such thing as this, and there's no such thing as that, and everything else. But regardless of what the source of it is, I mean, I've seen things that aren't good, and they've affected people in very bad ways.
That's the backbone of my show, how the investigation has changed your life, actually. It was the premise that I try to gear towards.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole point. You see a lot of things. And over a period of many years, you see many things. And, a lot of people say, well, why do you think this or why do you think that? And, you can't point to one specific event that says this is what, made me believe this. You have to point to 30 or 40 events and say, well, I saw this here, and this there, this there. And putting all that information together, it adds up to this. In my interpretation, this is why I feel that way because of that, and that.
Yeah, it's never an easy story when somebody asks you a question.
No, because it's a very complex process to start with. I mean, you didn't get to where you are overnight. It was a long period of trial and error. You make a lot of mistakes. You do stupid things, and you learn from them, and you build upon, the things you learn, the lessons you learn. So there's no simple answer when somebody asks you a question like that. It's a very long and drawn-out process. But I've seen a lot of things, and I've had reports and heard reports from a lot of people over the years about things that are just nasty. They're just, regardless of what kind of name you want to put on it, they're nasty. And a lot of those things, there are, people that have no idea how to get rid of it. And they tend to do more harm than good, or worse yet, they take it home with them.
Yeah, which is never fun either.
Yeah. And then what do? They got to call somebody that knows what they're doing. So, I always tell people, you run into a situation like that, you need to go to your clergy. Go to someone in your clergy and present your case to them, because every religion has a training regime for dealing with that type of manifestation. And there's certain things that have to, there's certain things that have to be met as far as standards and things. Like it can't be someone that's just actually schizophrenic, or people with mental illnesses, or people taking drugs or things like that. They have to eliminate all the known causes for what's being manifested before they actually pull out the big guns and go in and do their thing. But I always tell people, what are you? What religion do you believe in? Well, go talk to your preacher or go talk to your pastor.
I just got this question popped in my private chat here. Does religion have any place in paranormal investigations?
Well, religion is paranormal.
Yeah, it's all how you see the world.
Well, I mean, there are aspects about religion that are above normal. That are above normal. They are. Religion is a very important part in your spiritual makeup. Regardless of what your religious beliefs are, your own spirituality is the foundation for the way you see life and view the world around you to start with. I'm a very religious person. My religion gives me what I need spiritually, and what I do, it reinforces what my belief system is. It reinforces, what I believe. I see evidence that there is more around us than we can perceive, and so I'm threatened anyway.
Yeah, I guess that's where I was at too. It seems like a belief and understanding of the spirit now, that there is a possibility of some other spirit being out there, so it makes a higher power more realistic in my mind too.
And there's many times when I've relied on that higher power to bail me out. So
we haven't even touched that one.
Yeah, so I mean, I have to say, it works for me. If it ever did something that came between my comfort with my religion, I'd have to quit doing it. I mean, because that would be threatening to me spiritually then.
Right.
But I do it from a research aspect. I'm not going out there to try to talk to dead people. I'm going out there to try to find the answer of what's going on, And I think God gave us the innate ability to find answers. And we're not going to find all the answers, and we were never meant to find all the answers, but we can sure look for the answers we can find. But it is kind of disturbing to me what's going on in the field with this demonology thing. Yeah. I mean, it used to be there were maybe 10 demonologists in the United States, and 8 of them you didn't know who they were because they were incognito.
Yeah, because
their
it wasn't
identities
cool.
Their identities were protected by the church.
Right. Well,
and their identities still are protected by the church. The demonologists that are out there now, all I can say is you have to look at their background and their training and where they got their information from. There's a lot of people out there that don't have a pedigree. And those are the people that I'm concerned about, because they're the people that one day are going to walk into a major fire and not have any water to put it out.
Yeah, some people just don't get it, I guess. I mean, it's bad enough how do I say this gently? Because without being a hypocrite, the rash of paranormal teams that have started in the last 10 years. I mean, obviously that's where I fall into, but there are some people that's just doing it to do it and be cool and run into the places and pay $100 a head and do it, and it's just like, what's the point of running into a place that you're not gaining anything from?
No, I agree. And all of a sudden now, all these teams are, well, we have a demonologist. Really? What seminary did they go to? You know?
Yeah, it's like, really? Yeah,
I mean, I had someone that had the audacity to tell me, and they were a layperson, that they assisted Catholic priests in exorcisms, and I said, you're full of manure. And they said, oh, no, I went to the archdiocese, and I said, the lay isn't allowed to assist.
Yeah,
said,
I mean...
Only specially trained priests are allowed to do that, and their identities are kept secret. You know?
Yeah, I mean...
And the situation is kept secret. The locations are kept secret. None of that stuff is revealed to the public until
years
the
after.
person involved either does it, or the client itself does it, or the news gets wind of it. That's how it comes out. You never hear the church reveal any information about an exorcism. They just don't do it. They'll put generalities out about something, but they won't be specific about any situation. They do that to protect the people involved. And anyone that does it differently is, in my opinion, unethical. So,
yeah. Don't. Yeah, that's the bottom line of tonight's show. Don't claim to be something you're not. Jeez, I don't understand people.
Well, it's going to bite you one day. That's all. You know, and you know, I don't care so much if they get bit, but I worry about the people around them.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not worried about the person claiming it. I'm worried about the person that's on the end of their advice.
Exactly. You know, they certainly don't deserve to be, you know, pulled into that because somebody wants to have their own TV show or be famous or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of that going on. And there's a lot of that in any field. I mean, this field's not unique with that. But there's a lot of the showboating type stuff that goes on there because everyone wants to be famous. Everyone wants to have their own TV show. Everyone wants to be on TV, you know.
Yeah, I know. I got a handful of those messages when I announced that I was doing a radio show. And I'm like, really? A radio show? I'm going to get famous from this?
Yeah. Well,
okay. You know. Well, you've traveled the circuit. We talked about George Norrie. How many other famous hosts are there? Well,
you do. You know, it started out with Art Bell, really.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Then, you know, and then what is it? Rents or whatever it is. And then, you know, it's like there's not a whole lot of places for big money in the field. Believe me.
That's what I'm saying. It's like they're accusing me of wanting to be famous. I'm like, yeah, this is I'm going to be the only one in America doing this.
No, the difference is there are people out there who want to disseminate information, and they want to disseminate it in their own special way. I have no problem with that.
No,
I do a podcast.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, but the bottom line is, why else would I get to talk to you if I wasn't doing the show tonight?
Yeah, I mean, you get to talk to interesting people. You get to explore interesting ideas and concepts, and you know, you get to pass on information to other people. I mean, it's a way of communicating. I don't have any issues. I have issues with the drama put on TV as reality.
Oh yeah, well the TV shows are just horrendous.
Well, and they're selling cornflakes. You know,
they're selling a lot of things.
It's all about selling cornflakes, and they're going to make the show entertaining for rating.
Yeah, well that's. Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily reflect the true situation. I mean, my God, every one of these guys, every place they go, they have dozens of paranormal events occur. I mean, I have sat in a building for hours with nothing. In fact, we have gone to investigations and left thinking we got nothing until we literally sat down and went over the audio tapes and realized we had picked up a couple.
I was going to say, that happens to me more often than not, that we're sitting there going,
oh, it's boring.
Yeah, I mean, you got to sit there and watch the tape, and it's the same thing all over again. You're sitting there going,
oh yeah. It's hours and hours of boredom, you know, most of the time. So it's unrealistic to portray investigations because people believe that every place you go, you're going to find a ghost. And that's just simply not the case. I mean, even if the place does have activity, there's no guarantee there's going to be activity there when you're there. You know, sometimes there may be activity, sometimes there's not. It's not predictable. There's no rhyme or reason to it. So, you know, it's over the years you realize that it's not the way it's portrayed. You know, when I first saw the first couple of things on TV, I started laughing. I said, man, I wonder how much film they shot before they got any of this stuff. You know, there must have been hours and hours of video, and then it dawned on me, no, of course there isn't hours and hours of video.
Yeah, I was going to say. There
That
was
would cost
one
money.
producer going,
Yeah, so do I think a lot of it is recreated? Yes, I do. Is the recreation maybe based in truth? Very possibly. But the odds just don't reflect that every place you go, stuff starts happening from the moment you walk into the door. Now, some places are like that. You know, I've been to places that was like walking in and taking a hit of LSD when you walk through the door, you know. But the majority of places you go to, the activity is very subtle. And in most cases, unless you have some very sophisticated instrument, you don't detect anything at all.
right.
You know, you could sit there for days and not detect anything at all until something really dramatic happens.
All right, so we're pushing the end of the show here. So give me the title of the book and what's your team's website and all. Give me the rundown one more time so we can get all that fun stuff taken care of for you.
Yeah, it's I'm going to put it in the chat room. It's www.spinvestigations.org. That's the research site, and the investigation team is at www.njprg.com.
And the book's Paranormal Technology.
Paranormal Technology, Understanding the Science of Ghost Hunting.
By David Rountree, of course.
Yeah.
So, and be checking his fan page and his personal Facebook page and his websites, because he might be coming to a town near you, and trust me.
Yeah, I would hope so. I would hope so.
If he's not coming to a town near you, make it happen for him. Bring him over.
Yeah, really. I go anywhere. No bar too far, no hall too small. But yeah, you know, it's funny. A year ago, no one knew who I was, and now if you Google me, there's like 10,000 hits when you Google me out.
Well, that's a good thing, isn't it? Means you're getting the book out there, right?
Yeah, it does. You know, it means the message is getting out, for better or worse, is what it means, and that's all I can hope to do, is to get the message out.
Well,
there's a double-edged sword to it. I want people to either say, hey, you know, we did this and you're wrong, or hey, we did this and you're right. You know, that needs to be done.
Right. Well, I want to thank you for having you on, and when the next book gets done, the door's open, of course.
Well, you know, I don't have to have a book out. You can ask me back anytime.
Okay.
You know,
well,
we can talk about other stuff. Who
okay.
cares?
Okay. Well, yeah, you know me. I'm always willing to talk to you, so I'll send you a message here in the next few hours.
It's good to finally get on here. Gosh, it took forever to get on here.
I know. One night I booked all my guests for like a long time. I've been looking forward to this section because next week I have James Long on, so I'm looking forward to it. So.
Well, how's he doing?
He's doing pretty good. I think he was in the chat room here for a few seconds. I don't know if he's still not.
Oh, okay.
So.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I think he still is. I see his name.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Well, I better get off here before I get in trouble. So.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for coming on.
All right, great.
Have a good evening.
Take care, Jim.
Bye. And that was David Rountree. So, what a great guest. And I'm going to jump off here and have a good night, everybody.